Hello, wonderful people of the internet. Today I'm going to be doing a rant review of Frankenstein, as well as talking about two other bookish things that I don't like. Okay, so before I begin, I just want to make it crystal clear that what I say in this video should not be taken personally. This is purely my opinion, and I'm not a literary expert by any means, so you have to take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. It is just my 2 cents, and nothing more. It's not an attack on the book, or the writer, or the people who like it. Just my opinion. Okay, so, why am I even doing this if I feel it's quite a risky thing to be doing? Well, I have said in 2 previous videos, I believe, that I despise this book, and that's a big deal, because this is really, really, really famous. It is considered to be the first science fiction book ever written, and it is pioneering. This book's a big deal, and I appreciate that. I appreciate how important this book is and the things that it's trying to achieve. I'm not undermining its value by any means. I'm just justifying the big statements that I've made in the last 2 videos. So let's get into it. The first thing I don't like about Frankenstein is Victor Frankenstein himself. Now, as a character and the narrator of the story, for some of it, there's also the sea captain who's recounting Frankenstein's story. It's really weird, but Frankenstein as a main character was not bad for the first quarter of the book. Didn't mind him. He wasn't great, but he wasn't terrible. I was enjoying reading about his background, his attempts to try and create the monster on the cover. If you don't know, this is about a guy who creates a monster out of sewn together dead bodies, and then it goes on a murderous rampage because he neglects it. Okay, so, yeah, he wasn't bad in the first quarter of the book, but, and there is a but, then the monster is created, and his younger brother is murdered by the monster soon after, and I know that's a spoiler, but this book was written 2 centuries ago, so you're going to hear it from somewhere, I'm sure. And then Frankenstein sort of goes into depression. He starts moping around, giving melodramatic monologues all the time about how much he hates his life and how miserable he is. And I understand he has every right to be miserable, but I got bored. I wanted something more from the bits between the action, other than just a few bits of dialogue and him going, I'm sad, you know? So that's the first thing. The second thing is Frankenstein's monster. Now, Frankenstein's monster was really interesting for me, and still is, as a sort of idea. You know, he looks hideous, but he's really benevolent on the inside. He just wants to help people, but because of his hideous appearance, he can't do that, and is shunned by society. But there's about a 10-page section, I'd say, in this book, although it felt like 30 pages, where he has been run out of a town, and he's hiding in this shed next to a house full of people. I can't remember exactly what the deal is with these people, but they're quite sad themselves, because I believe they're exiled from their home country, or, you know, hiding out in this cottage in the countryside. And he's watching them, and he's observing their ways, and he's thinking, well, these people are really friendly. I would love to be part of that. I'd like to learn their ways. And that's an interesting idea. I like that. You know, I haven't got a problem with the idea, but the presentation of that idea, and I guess that sums up my feelings at this book. The idea is good, the presentation is not, but in my opinion. But, you know, he's sitting there watching these people, and he carries on thinking the same thing over and over, in my opinion, a bit like Frankenstein. They're so friendly, I long to be with them. A couple of pages later, I've learnt to do this, and yet I still can't wait to go to them, should I? You know, it got so repetitive. And linking to that repetitiveness, point 3, holding up 4 fingers, 3, is how repetitive the writing got at times. Now, Mary Shelley seemed to be partial towards a few words, and she uses them a lot. I'd say at least once every 5 pages. And those words are abhorred, wretched, villain, and countenance. No, it's not villain, it's amiable. So we've got abhorred, wretched, amiable, and countenance. And I remember seeing a book review on Goodreads, and it was just those words repeated over and over, and while a bit harsh, I do understand where that person was coming from. Actually, I connect with it a lot, because I thought, oh, it's that word again. She just used it over and over and over as this book went on, and that did get on my nerves a bit. It really did. But as I said before, I just want to carry on saying it. I sound like a broken record, like the words of this book. Don't take it this personally. It's my opinion. And only my opinion. So I have not finished this book. I DNF'd it, which is also a big deal, because before that I'd only DNF'd a few other books, and this is actually the first book I ever DNF'd, which stands for did not finish, if you were wondering. This is the only book the first book anyway, that I DNF'd purely for the reason that I didn't like it. That's something that I never would have done before, because I, feel bad about it, but I just got so bored reading this, and it's so short, and yet the repetitiveness just really got to me. I mean, I think this is where I read to. Yeah, I read this far in. I nearly finished it effectively, but I just couldn't carry on reading it. To be honest, it was really grinding my gears. I just had to stop. But as I said, I'm not undermining this book's literary value. What I liked about it was one of the only things I liked about it was the questions it raised. What's the responsibility between a creator and its creations? The cover is not the book. Or should you play God? Those are all really interesting things that I like thinking about them. But the presentation of these ideas in this book was just a bit lackluster for me. So that's the Frankenstein review. And I hope now that you understand why I've said that I dislike it in previous videos. Okay, so now I'm going to get into the other two things that I don't like. Number one being the Ordeal by Innocence adaption. Now, I'll go and grab the book. Uno segundo. This is the TV show cover of Ordeal by Innocence. So, yeah, it was released because of the TV show coming out. And this is the last book that I read. And I gave it 3.5 stars, I believe. I liked it. It was okay. And I was really looking forward to watching this adaptation. And I went into it, and I thought, oh, this is cool. I'm watching the TV show. And I also want to say here, I actually like the TV show. I just think it's a terrible adaptation, and that's why I don't like it. For that reason, if that makes sense. I still find it entertaining, though. They really did a poor job of adapting it, and I think I've read a few things. They had reason for it, and I'll go into it in a sec. But it really wound me up. So, they changed the killer in the book and made it someone else in the TV series. And there's something to me that feels so off about that. Like, this is a mystery book, and I feel like the culprit in the mystery book is a big deal for the story. It's not something you can change, and in my opinion, if you change the killer, you change the story. The setup can be the same, the characters can be the same, although they're not in this. The characters are actually quite different in the TV show. But, no matter how much you keep the same, the fact that you're telling the story of a different crime, effectively, makes it a different story. And that's why I don't like the show. I also don't like the show because they add... This is like how long is it? About a 250-page long book. And they stretched it into a 3-hour-long TV series. Murder on the Orient Express, which is another Agatha Christie book, up here. That was made into about an hour and a half, 2-hour movie. And that was good, because it wasn't stretched out for as long. It's about the same length of book. And I really enjoyed that adaptation. It's great, and I recommend it. But here, they had, if you consider like the 2 hours being the whole of the story, there's another hour there of just waffle, effectively. New stuff put in there to carry, stretch out the length. And one of the ways the writers did this was changing the characters a bit. Now, in the book, there were a few characters that I was like, oh, you're nasty. But not that many. And the TV show, I'm going to say most of the characters are really bad people. And I don't know how to feel about that, because, like, one of the characters, she's not on the front, but she's called Gwenda, and in the book, did have a problem with her. She's a character, no reason to dislike her really. In the TV show, in the TV show, they made her really, 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 really insufferable. Like, I've not finished it yet, but I know who's done the crime, committed the crime, because I searched it up on the internet because I was thinking, is it the same person? And it's not. But so actually, I can't really talk about whether there's a reason for this change of character yet, but so far I can't see one really, and except from to support, the new murderer. But, she's a bit of a gold digger in this. She's, after this guy's wife has died, that's what the murder is, she's, now, they're now going to get married, and she seems like a bit of a gold digger, and she's really nasty to the rest of the family, and that's really irritating me, because she wasn't nasty in the book, She was quite genuine, and I thought she genuinely loved the guy. And that was just me. I didn't think she was in it for the money. I thought she genuinely liked him. And so that's another thing that bothers me. The fact that they changed the culprit, and the fact that they changed the characters in some ways. Okay, so the final thing that I'm going to be talking about in this is the negative stigma surrounding comics, manga, and anime. Okay, so I'll go and grab the box. One sec. What manga and anime are manga is a Japanese comic book, and anime is a TV series based off of the Japanese comic book, right? And then you know what a comic book is. And I feel I got into these recently. I started reading these, and I've got over it now. But initially, I had a lot of shame about reading comic books, and anime ones for that matter, because comic books have a lot of negative stigma, sort of, about being made for dumber people. If you read a comic book, you're an idiot. And that's not true. Because comic books can actually have a lot of value. The books that have made me cry the most have been comic books, So they definitely have value in them. And just because they're not all written with the written word does not mean that they have any less value, in my opinion. So it really bothers me when people sort of judge you for reading a comic book because they think it means you're stupid, when it doesn't. And I don't think you should feel guilty about what you're reading in general. And then you have manga and anime, and, I think that has a whole separate type of negative stigma around things like Pokemon, which is an anime, and it's made for children, and, it's not very high quality. It's a children's show, and so that's, in the eyes of the older generation, what anime is. That's how they've experienced it, through Pokemon. And that means that they've got a preconceived notion that all anime and manga is going to be stupid, which isn't the case, because you get things like Fullmetal Alchemist, Death Note, and Attack on Titan. Death Note and Attack on Titan in particular are some of the darkest things I've ever read, and they have a lot of messages in them and value. And they're definitely not for kids, and they're definitely not stupid, but because of, Pokemon and the prejudices that's given the older generation, it's anime and manga are seen as bad. And that bugs me as well, because if you just took a look, tried it out, tried watching Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood or Attack on Titan or Death Note, and you'd understand that they have no less value than perhaps Frankenstein. And even though I didn't like this, as I said, it has a lot of value. It's an important book. They're never going to be as important and valuable as Frankenstein. But you know what I mean. They're not going to be objectively less educational than any normal novel. The manga and comics that I have are no less valuable than any of the other books on my shelf. Some of them it might even be more valuable. And that's just what bugs me. The fact that people have that stigma surrounding them, but have no real reason to have that. If they just took a look, then they'd understand that's not how it is. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. I'm sorry if this video has been a bit jumbled. I'm going to watch it through, and what I'm saying will probably be really repetitive or not even make sense. Once I get going, the words just pour out and it probably won't make sense. But thank you for watching anyway. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you didn't take it too to heart. You know, as I said, just my opinion. And have a good one, y'all. Bye!